Hey guys, it's Neeraj here, and today I'm going to talk about the measures being taken against the ongoing health crisis and pandemic. The truth is, humanity is clueless in what to do. It's just getting worse. We have celebrities in their corner thinking that singing Imagine by John Lennon will find the cure to all diseases in the world. But currently, the most promising fields of solutions is technology. The pandemic has already affected every industry and individual, and it's been terrible. But governments are actually working to implement policies which can revitalize economies and prevent the spread of this virus through technology. To begin with, we need to look at the origin point, China. It's seen a steep decline in cases thanks to technology that does what it's best at, surveillance. Though some critics call its measures authoritarian, they do certainly work. They use drones to fulfill the role of every teenage mom, nagging. Nah, just kidding. Moms are the greatest. And so are drones, because they do everything these days. They tell citizens to wear masks, see if people are on the street, and dutifully tell them to go back home and even disinfect certain areas or buildings. China has even installed CCTV cameras outside every person in quarantine to make sure they don't leave and spread the virus further. They even have apps to show interaction history and medical condition. Talk about some revolutionary technology here. To elaborate on the economic impact of this, these advancements will attract investors faster than light attracts moths. When this is over, investors will swarm investments into the surveillance sector due to its novelty and efficiency, specifically in China. These types of investors are called angel investors, not only because of some economic reason, but also because they're literal angels to China. Singapore and Hong Kong have followed in China's footsteps, launching similar surveillance apps through the use of Bluetooth. Now, China is obviously the most strictly monitored, right? Psych! You thought. South Korea is on a whole different existential plane. They've yeeted the very concept of privacy out of the window. You might expect them to push their citizens into bunkers, but no, this isn't parasite. They've used data like credit card transactions, smartphone location data, and CCTV video, as well as conversations with people to create a system where confirmed cases were tracked. And the redemption arc is now the stuff of legends along with China. But one not so legendary developmental arc is that of the USA, which has jumped up to have the most cases. Geez, they really like topping out over China. They've taken solid measures. However, from the apocryphal emergence of the Navy hospital to the economic stimulus, you can sense the magnitude of the tragedy in their country. But the US is partnering with social media companies to track the locations of its citizens. Some parts of India were stamping the hands of people arriving at airports, telling them how long they had to be quarantined according to the Reuters report. Reservation data from airlines and trains were being monitored to make sure those people didn't travel. In the great South Indian state of Kerala, the authorities have been using a mixture of telephone call records, surveillance camera footage, and phone location data to track down people who may have been in contact with coronavirus patients. But there's still confusion. There's still confusion galore regarding the wide-scale implementation of such technology. You all remember when Marie Antoinette told starving peasants who couldn't afford to buy bread to eat? Well, that's basically what's happening. Lots of developed or industrializing countries have the resources to carry out such expensive projects. But what about the underdeveloped rural nations? What about the low economically developed countries? Thankfully, underdeveloped regions of the world are not as effective. But in the case of a future pandemic or a global threat, it is really fair. Is it really fair for very few countries to select and to thrive, and as they leave the others behind, especially in the terms of technology? Now, this may be a topic for another podcast, but when it comes to the UN and the international bodies looking at this topic, a lot of measures do need to be taken because we cannot rely on the fact that this pandemic will never occur again. We always must be prepared. Although we're mostly focusing on the present today, we also need to look at the future and see how will underdeveloped, low economically developed countries survive in such conditions of a global threat or pandemic. So thank you guys for sticking with me through this podcast. Keep listening to Arkyve, and most importantly, stay safe. Follow the guidelines from the government, and make sure you tune in to our weekly podcast from the Arkyve team. Thank you so much and enjoy.